Britishers, they were of the view that they have the oldest civilization. But when they came to India, they saw that the Indians have a civilization which is more older than theirs and it is quite developed. At that time, they introduced an invasion or Aryan migration theory.
I have heard that Rigved mentions Saraswati as a humongous river.
See, Saraswati was a mighty river. The ancient civilization of India, 64% sites of this mighty civilization were located on the banks of Saraswati. Scholars say that Saraswati was a mythical river. But the thing is that now the dried up bed of Saraswati has been identified by Geological Survey of India, ISRO, NASA and other scholars. When Dr. Sanjay Manjul excavated Sinauli in 2018, all these theories got debunked suddenly. In 2018, we found 3 chariots. A scholar, Parpola, he told that now we can see that earlier the date was 1500 BCE for Aryan migration. Because of Sinauli, we can say that the first wave of Aryans came during 1800 BCE. But there is a bad news for this man, that now Sinauli dates back to 2100 BCE.
The script has not been deciphered yet. What do you think will be the implications whenever it gets deciphered?
Some of the scholars of ASI, they think that it is not a script. This is not the universal truth. Some say that it is a script but yet to be deciphered. Other civilizations, we got that Rosetta Stone and we deciphered it. In case of ancient Bharatiya civilization, we have not got any Rosetta Stone till now. But one important thing is that all the married women, they used to put vermilion here, what we call sindoor. The gist of this sindoor, it dates back to around 5000 BCE. But this vermilion culture was started during the time of Indus-Saraswati civilization.
What about the Indo-Iranian cultural overlap? The Avesta, which is a Zoroastrian text, that and Rigved, they share a lot of striking similarities.
This is because
Namaste Rahin, my name is Jayesh Gangan and this is The J Report, a podcast for all your intellectual curiosities. On tonight's podcast, my guest is Professor Shubham. He is a history professor at Delhi University and also an archaeologist. On this podcast, we talk about the Aryan invasion theory. We talk about how the Europeans concocted this theory of Aryan invasion. We talk about what are the proofs that debunk the Aryan invasion theory. We talk about the Indus-Saraswati civilization. This podcast is for all the history nerds out there. And also, this podcast will be an eye-opener for a lot of you. If you are someone who has always believed in Aryan invasion theory, this podcast will destroy your mindset. So without any further ado, let's start in 3, 2, 1. Namaste, Professor Shubham. Welcome on this new podcast that we have started. We recorded 2 podcasts in Hindi, of course, but then this is an English podcast and I wanted to speak with you about a very important subject, which is a debatable subject as well. But because we spoke about it in the Hindi podcast, I can say for sure, and this could be a spoiler alert for a lot of people, that this theory can be refuted. It has been refuted. We'll be speaking about the Aryan race theory or the Aryan migration theory. But firstly, welcome on the show.
Thank you.
So, I don't know where to start this podcast because when we trace the origins of Aryan race theory, I think it started with Max Muller when he suggested this theory of a superior race that came to the Bharatiya land from European civilizations. This happened in somewhere around 19th century. I just want you to tell the people a brief of this theory, like what exactly is Aryan race theory or Aryan migration theory, and then we can start refuting it.
See, the thing is that when Britishers came to India, they were of the view that they have the oldest civilization and they were having the developed civilization thousands years ago. But when they came to India, they saw that the Indians have a civilization which is more older than theirs and it is quite developed. So what they did just to rule India, they told that yes, you were civilized, you were developed during that time, but the ancestors were not yours. Actually, those were Europeans who came to India. They civilized you that time, and after a long span of time, you are again uncivilized. So to justify their invasion, they told that again we have came here to civilize you. At that time, they introduced this Aryan invasion or Aryan migration theory. So basically, now during that time also when they told this, they were not having any archaeological proof to prove that Aryans came from outside. But the thing is that no one was speaking against them during that time. And after independence also, the followers of these Britishers who were sitting in uh, renowned universities of India like JNU, DU, Jadavpur University, they continued the tradition.
Right. The left leaning
The
people.
left leaning people. I have no hesitation in taking this word. But now the things are changing. Now we have ample amount of archaeological evidences which are defaming this false theory. So now in 21st century saying that some group of people came to India during 1500 BCE from Central Asia, it doesn't have any ground. There are no archaeological evidence of all these things.
Right. What was the first instance or an incident where someone tried to refute this theory? Who was the first person, in fact?
See, many scholars tried this. Ki Aryans never invaded India. Bhagwan Singh was one, and various other scholars of Sanskrit also. S.P. Gupta was one. Why I am saying the name of S.P. Gupta and Bhagwan Singh? Because they were related to archaeology. Okay. So on the basis of archaeological evidences, they defamed this Aryan migration theory. So slowly it started. Now it is uh, growing much faster. Now new scholars are talking about this. They are researching. Recent archaeological excavations have given ample amount of evidences that the theory which was generated during the British rule and which was continued by left scholars was a false theory, and it doesn't have any archaeological evidences.
Right. But then this theory in itself is a really debatable subject, both academically and politically. What are some of the archaeological findings that refute this theory?
See, talking around 1960s and 1970s, or let's talk about 20th century. We all know that Rigved is a text written by the so-called Aryans. I want to clear one thing that Aryan is not a race.
Hmm.
Okay, it is like a word for a noble person.
Okay, so the elite of the society?
Yeah,
Okay.
a one who is noble, a one
Hmm.
who is decent, a one who is knowledgeable.
Okay.
Okay, it doesn't have any relation with race. First thing, everyone should be clear about this. Now, talking about archaeology, we all know that Rigved is the oldest text of human history, and people say that it was written by Aryans. Now, considering Rigved, Rigved talks about Saraswati.
Correct.
Okay, so the people who wrote Rigved were familiar with Saraswati.
Right. I just want to mention what was exactly written in the Rigved about Saraswati, because I have heard that Rigved mentions Saraswati as a humongous river, which is not a small word if you look at it.
See, Saraswati was a mighty river. Okay, Rigved quotes this, and that's why the ancestors of current Indian population or Bharati population, those who wrote Rigved, they writes about Saraswati and its geography and all those things, how it flows and where it flows. So in Rigved also, Rigved mentions about Saraswati. So what I am talking about is when we see about the ancient civilization of India, which is the Indus Saraswati civilization, we can see that 64% sites of this mighty civilization were located on the banks of Saraswati. Okay. And this was the time during 2500 BCE, 3000 BCE. Some people say, these left scholars say, that Saraswati was a mythical river. But the thing is that now the dried up bed of Saraswati has been identified by Geological Survey of India, ISRO, NASA, and other scholars. They have proven that Saraswati once flows through Rajasthan and Haryana, and that is the reason that why these mighty sites of Kalibanga, Rakhigadi, Banavali, all these were located on the banks of Saraswati. Because uh, if today we go at these sites, we will not find any water resource nearby. So these sites flourished because the ancient Saraswati and its tributaries like Drishadwati, they flowed through that region. So these sites developed because of this. So now we are saying it's Saraswati Sindhu civilization, and we are when we are saying it as a Saraswati Sindhu civilization, we clearly accept that Saraswati was not a mythical river, and what was written in Rigved was not myth.
Hmm.
And this civilization dates back to 2500 BCE.
Right.
And these scholars also say that Aryans invaded India during 1500 BC.
1500 BC. Right.
But we are seeing that the aspect of Saraswati is being included in Rigved, and we can see that people were living on the banks of Saraswati during 2500 BCE, and that civilization, everybody has proved now that that civilization was an indigenous civilization, and the people living in India, like recent DNA researchers has proven it that people living in India have Harappan genes. So saying that someone came from outside during 1500 BCE, uh, it, it it doesn't have any sense, because if Aryans came during 1500 BCE and they are writing about Saraswati in Rigved, Saraswati dried up during 1700 1800 BCE. Okay, so what they see they wrote. So they have seen how Saraswati was, and Saraswati was a mighty river during 3000 BCE. Okay, so I don't understand what archaeological boundaries and on what archaeological facts they have told that ki Aryans came from outside.
Right. So the whole timeline, it in itself refutes this theory, because as you said, the scholars on the left side or the left ideology, they have been speaking about this, that the Aryans, they migrated or whatever it was, invaded in 1500 BC.
This is just to divide the Indian population. Ki some of you who are quite fair, you have sharp nose, you have sharp chin, they are from Central Asia, and those who are living here who are quite black, who have that
Darker skin.
darker skin, they are the aboriginals of this country. So just to divide this, they provoked this theory, and unfortunately our politicians are still using this theory in the parliament.
Hmm. Okay. Um, Tell me about the chariots that were discovered in Sinauli. How do they refute this theory?
See, not only Sinauli, but Saraswati Sindhu civilization itself defame this theory. We all know that horse was an important aspect related to Aryans, as told by leftists or the invasionist scholars. They told that they came to India from Central Asia during 1500 BC along with horse and chariots. And they claimed that in the era of Saraswati Sindhu civilization, domesticated horse was not there. But when you go through the reports of Archaeological Survey of India, basically the report of Lothal written by Dr. S.R. Rao, he clearly mentions that from Lothal and from Rangpur, we have found evidence of domesticated horse from both pre-Harappan level and from mature phase of Indus-Saraswati civilization. And it dates back to 2300 BC or 2400 BC. Same case goes with Surkotda, once again a site of Saraswati Indus civilization. From there also we have found evidence of domesticated horse. See, why I'm saying it is a domesticated horse. See, domesticated horse has a bad habit of crib biting,
Which means
when he is tied to a pole, he slowly he bite that pole only, that
okay,
wooden pole.
okay, got it.
So there are some what we call some
Chip tooth.
you can say that. Okay, so from Surkotda, it is clearly we have found the evidence that the horse which was found from Surkotda was a domesticated horse. We have also found the evidence of domesticated horse from Lothal and from Rangpur. Even one more site which is known as Shikarpur, we have found evidence of domesticated horse. So, and again, there is one more site which is known as Rakhigadi,
Hmm.
which is the largest site of Saraswati Indus civilization. From there also, in one of the article written by the excavator himself, Dr. What was his name? I am Dr. Amrendranath. He also wrote in his article published in Puratatva Journal of Archaeological Society of India, 1998 edition, I think. He wrote that he has found some terracotta figurines of horse from Rakhigadi.
Hmm.
And Rakhigadi is a site which belongs to mature phase of Indus Saraswati civilization, not late phase. So you can say that they came in late phase around 1800, 1700. So see, Aryans have came. So from 2300 BC also we are getting evidence of horse from Rakhigadi too. So, on the basis of this thing, which these people told that Aryans came along with horses, it doesn't match with the archaeological finds. From 2300 BCE, 2400 BCE onwards, we are finding the evidence of horse from the great civilization. One more thing is, we all know that Aryans were the followers of Vedic culture. And in Vedic culture, when you go through Veds, you see that they worship fire, and they used to build fire altars, and they used to worship. When we talk about Rakhi Gadi, which is again the biggest site and the site of mature phase, from there it is written in the report. These are not my words, okay? I'm not creating any evidence. So in the report of Rakhi Gadi, it is clearly mentioned that fire altars, which we call Yagyavedi in Sanskrit, fire altars have been found from Rakhi Gadi, and those fire altars are of vagina shape, and one is called Chitti shape. And the excavator clearly says that some ritualistic purpose was going on at this place. So they were worshipping fire altars, they were using fire altars. So Aryans were directly related to fire altars. Okay, so horse is there, fire altars are there. One thing was missing, that was chariot. Unfortunately, from Indus Saraswati civilization, we didn't find any evidence of chariot. So this theory goes on. They were not ready to accept कि since there are no chariots before 1500 BCE, we are 100% sure that Aryans came around 1500 BCE along with their what we call chariots. Even they didn't consider the evidence of horse and fire altars also. In history books, you will not find the mention what I have told right now. Okay, it is all there in ASI reports. Now, talking about chariots, when Dr. Sanjay Manjul excavated Sinauli in 2018, all these theories got debunked suddenly. In 18, Archaeological Survey of India, under the leadership of Dr. Sanjay Manjul, site of Sinauli was excavated. Sinauli, which is located in Bagpat district of Uttar Pradesh, which is in Ganga Yamuna Doab. Sinauli was excavated, and the finds from Sinauli clearly indicate that it was a OCP copperhood culture, which was an indigenous culture quoted by Dr. B.B. Lal, who is the grandfather of Indian archaeology. He quoted that the copperhood and OCP culture, this is the indigenous culture of Ganga Yamuna Doab, and it is indigenous culture of India. Now, in 2018, Sinauli, which is a site of OCP copperhood culture, we found 3 chariots made of wood and copper. Okay. And seeing the structure of that chariot, my guru Dr. Manjul suggested that 100% this chariot was horse driven. Although till now we have not found any evidence of horse. But the chariot was horse driven, it is 100% sure. Now we have horse, now we have chariot, now we have fire altars. See, horse and fire altars were already there. Now we have chariots.
The missing link was
The missing link
chariots.
was chariot, and we found it. Earlier, these people suggested that they quoted that around 1500 BCE, Aryans migrated towards India along with these chariots and all those things. Now, suddenly they saw that after the excavation of Sinauli, the primary dates we got was 1800 BCE. A scholar which is against influenced by this invasion theory, his name is Asko Parpola, he told that he suddenly wrote an article. He told that now we can see that earlier the date was 1500 BCE for Aryan migration. Now, because of Sinauli, we can say that the first wave of Aryans came during 1800 BCE, 1800 or 1900. But there is a bad news for this man. Ki now Sinauli dates back to 2100 BCE. I think after few months he will write a new article that first wave of Aryans came to India during 2100 BCE. If they are saying that the Sinauli peoples are the first immigrants, we are not getting any single archaeological evidence which is related to Sinauli from that whole path of northwest India. Okay, we are not getting OCP or some other antiquity which is related to Sinauli in
Right.
Afghanistan or in Pakistan or in Central Asia from where they came to India. So saying that now saying that Sinauli is the first wave of Aryan migration, we all can understand what they want to say. Earlier it was 1500 BC. Now they saw that Sinauli is going 1800 BC. They told 1800 BC. Now it's 2100 BC. After 1 or 2 months, Asko Parpola will say ki Aryan came during 2100 BC. And after some time, if we'll get chariots of 2500 BC, he will say that no, Aryans, first wave of Aryans came during 2500 BC. So they are just changing their arguments on the basis of new archaeological finds. One more important thing is that why I am saying that the Sinauli people, they were the followers of Vedic culture. The thing is that in Veds also, Rigved talks about disposing the dead in both ways, by cremating and by burying.
Correct.
In Sinauli, we are getting the buried one. It also talks about the chariots. The mentions, the aspect which Rigved tells about how the chariot should be. The Sinauli chariot is quite similar to that. Okay, it says that the chariot look like वो हम लोग हिंदी में बोलते हैं सूर्य किरणों से आलोकित.
Right.
It is written in the Rigved. And when we see the copper inlays on the chariot of Sinauli, it resembles the spreading rays of sun. So no doubt it is quite similar that the chariot which was made by the Sinauli people, they were Vedic people, because
Right.
they are making the same chariot which got mentions in Rigved.
I just want to point out something here, because the proponents of AMT, which is Aryan Migration Theory, they claim that the Harappan civilization slash Saraswati civilization, they were urban and non-Vedic, while the Aryans were pastoral and nomadic.
Once again, these people have not read the Rigved properly. Aryans were not nomadic people. They were urbanized people. And once again, I'm saying Aryan is not a race. When you go through Rigved mentions cities more times as compared to villages. Okay. One more thing, in Rigved, one of the hymn, a rishi, he prays to God to give him a house. And this is the sole evidence of praising the God for a house. And in that hymn, he says that I want a house which is built of baked bricks and stones. These type of houses are present in Saraswati Indus civilization, and bricks were used by urbanized people only. Same case goes with Sinauli. We have found ample amount of evidence of bricks from Sinauli. So neither Saraswati Indus civilization was neither the followers of Vedic people on the basis of Saraswati Indus civilization were nomadic, neither on the basis of Sinauli we can say that. So this is quite clear that they were not nomadic and they were not living in villages. They were living in villages also, and they were living in cities also.
So for the chariots, what is the date that you said? 2300.
See, now the date is going to, according to a new publication of Dr. Sanjay Manjul only, the date is going back to 2300 BC.
And how is this found out? Like radiocarbon?
It is based on radiocarbon dates.
Okay.
C14. So this is scientific. No manipulation is there.
Correct.
So now Sinauli is going back to 2300 BC.
And if more chariots are found, is there a chance that those chariots might date even
Quite possible.
Okay.
It is quite possible. Dates can change and dates may change, and I think dates will change. So on the basis of all these rubbish things, that horse chariots, these were brought to India by Aryans during 1500 BC, now this theory has been totally demolished, and along with the archaeological facts. Rather, these people who were saying that during 1500 BC Aryans came, they doesn't have any archaeological fact. But now the people like us, we are saying that Aryans never invaded India or never migrated India. We have archaeological facts. If they dare, they defame our words.
But then someone like R.C. Majumdar, who has done so much for Indian history, even he believed in the Aryan migration theory or the Aryan race theory. What is the reason behind that?
I don't want to comment on Dr. R.C. Majumdar. Earlier, we were not having ample amount of evidences. But now we are having ample amount of evidences. On the basis of that only I am saying that theories change. Okay, everything is not known. We are moving from unknown to known. So now we have evidences that this migration theory or invasion theory. See, earlier they told that Aryan invasion was there. Okay, and they told that from some site of Harappan civilization, we found some these what we call burials, or we can say the dead bodies, which were lying down on the streets. So Mortimer Wheeler told that this is the evidence of Aryans. See, they have invaded India and they have killed the Harappans. But later on, Kennedy told that these people they didn't die because of any injury. Okay, they died because of some other reason. So this massacre theory of Wheeler, it got debunked during that time only. And one more thing which everybody neglected is that Kennedy and Lucox, there are two scholars of America only, they told during 60s and 70s that from 4500 BCE to 800 BCE, there is no demographic disrupt in northwest India, basically in Haryana, Punjab, Pakistan, and western Uttar Pradesh. So they told this on the basis of DNA only. So when they are saying that there was no demographic disrupt during 4500 BCE to 800 BCE, then how came Aryans invaded or migrated India in 1500 BC? There is no mix in the DNA during that time. And the new researchers are also showing the same criteria that there is no disrupt in DNA before 1000 BC.
Right, because a lot of proponents of AMT, they claim that genomic studies have shown the presence of steppe pastoralist ancestry in North Indian populations after 1500 BC. But the critics again, they argue that this is not an indication of a large scale migration. If even if the migration happened, it might be on a very small scale.
See, the thing is that we were doing trade since 2500 BC. Our people were going there, their people were coming here. So a minute mix can come. But what they called that Aryans came to India and they vanished out the existing culture. Archaeology and DNA analysis, they both doesn't approve all these things. And after, if any mix happened, it happened after 1000 BC. Before 1000 BC, there was no mix.
Okay. Has there been any genetic evidence?
Soon some data will get published.
Okay. And from, if I had to ask, from which site would it be?
From some Harappan site only and from Sinauli also.
Okay. Okay. And that would clearly refute
That
this
would,
theory.
see, archaeological evidences have already debunked it. One more thing is DNA.
Right.
Soon it will come and it will debunk the whole theory.
Okay. And the other thing about Saraswati civilization is that the script has not been deciphered yet. What do you think will be the implications whenever it gets deciphered? Have we ever gotten some clues of what is written exactly in there? Or, I mean, I'm just trying to get to the core of that what we can get to know if that is deciphered.
See, some of the scholars of ASI, they think that it is not a script. Okay. This is one thought. This is not the universal truth. Some says that it is a script but yet to be deciphered. In case of other civilizations, we got that Rosetta Stone and we deciphered it. In case of ancient Bharati civilization, which is Saraswati Sindhu civilization, we have not got any Rosetta Stone till now. So if in future we will get that, I hope ki this script will get deciphered. But one important thing is that when we see the letters of Brahmi script, which got evolved around 500 BCE, it has some similarities with the script of Indus Saraswati people. Some letters like ta, va, and some other words. We see those words in Brahmi, and those signs are also available, or we can see them in Harappan script. So when the script will deciphered, I think more things will come out.
So it is safe to say now that this theory has no balance at all.
See, again, I am saying earlier also we were having ample amount of evidences. But I don't know what was the reason these evidences never came out. The evidence of horse, the evidence of fire altars, okay, and the things written in Rigved like house of what we call bricks and all those things, they were already there. Okay, so but they were not included in the textbooks.
Was this deliberately done politically, because the reason behind that was to divide Indians amongst themselves?
See, the agenda was pure politics. It was started by Britishers and followed by leftist scholars
Hmm.
to divide the Indian population in two groups aboriginals and invaders. And unfortunately, 1 or 2 years back, a senior leader of a party, he told that you people are Aryans and
Yeah.
we are the aboriginals of this country. So they are just using this term to divide the Hindu, Bodh, Sikh, and Jain population.
And it is still going on.
And it is still going on. Although archaeology don't archaeology doesn't have any evidence of Aryan invasion or
Mhm.
Aryan migration.
But then this is also a thing that archaeology is never given that importance in India.
This is the time from last 3 or 4 years I am seeing that Archaeological Survey of India have a voice now in India. Earlier, they just used to excavate, and these historians who sit in AC rooms, they used to see the reports of Archaeological Survey of India. What fits to their ideology, they will include it. What doesn't fit to their ideology, they will leave it as it is. And see, the thing is that the culture which we are following, one important aspect is that we all know that all Indian women, rather not differentiating them on the basis of sects, Indian sects, all the married women they used to put vermilion here, what we call sindoor. The gist of this sindoor, it dates back to around 5000 BCE. Okay, so if this is a culture of now what those people you say some of them are Aryans and some of them are aboriginals, but this vermilion culture, according to you, those who are Aryans and those who are aboriginals, everybody is following that culture. But this culture was started during the time of Indus Saraswati civilization. From Nosharo site in, I think, in Afghanistan or Pakistan, I think you know about that, some terracotta sculptures were found, and those mother goddess, they are evidences of evidence of vermilion in the center of the forehead. They are there, so we are following that culture. Talking about shivlings, we have ample amount of evidence of shivling from Indus Saraswati civilization. So all these various cults, okay, the fire worshipper, the what we call murti pujak, they all were existing. See, we have diversity. We are not like other states or other religion that diversity is not allowed here. We have a diverse culture. Different cultures coexist in India today also, and they were existing during 5000 BCE also. So this theory that someone came from Central Asia, neither DNA supports it, neither archaeology supports it.
I've heard another theory which fits into the migration theory now, which is that these were our people. They went out, and you also said that there were some people who went till Afghanistan and they settled down over there. Now this theory goes ahead. It says that those people after few generations they returned and they invaded us and
This is all baseless things. There
these
are
are just theories.
these are just theories. We don't have any archaeological evidence of these things, and we will accept those things which have archaeological evidences because we want facts. Okay, so one of the scholar of Deccan College Pune, Dr. M.K. Dhavlikar, in one of his article I read, he quoted that some of the group of these Aryans, what so-called Aryans, they went to the border of Afghanistan and present Iran during 1900 BCE, and they went from India. So rather saying that some migration happened towards India, the migration happened from India towards those places. That is the reason why we have got that inscription of Bogaskoi in which Indra and Agni have been mentioned. So this is the pure example of in Hindi what we call Arya Bahirgaman, not Arya Agaman. And as I told in the beginning, that Arya is not a race. It is a word for noble. See why I am saying this. We all know about Kushan rulers. They were the followers of Buddhism. And we all know that Buddhism and Vedic culture have some clashes also. So if Vedic culture belongs to Aryans, and if Aryan is a race, I have read some inscription. I don't know whether these scholars know how to read ancient scripts or not. I hope so. They don't know. I read that inscription. It was a Kushan inscription, in which it was written. It was written about some monks of Buddhist culture. So there was a senior monk and he has two disciples. What I saw when I deciphered it, that the senior monk Arya word has been used for that monk, and for his two disciples Arya word was not used. If Buddhism and Vedic have some clashes, then why Buddhism was opting the culture of Aryans? If Arya
Right.
is a race, then why the head monk is Arya and his two disciples are not Arya?
Correct.
It is because it's just like I am an assistant professor, someone is associate professor, someone is professor. It is because of what we call our status.
Correct.
Someone is called, someone is in army, so he will be lieutenant,
Hmm.
someone will be general
Correct.
or general. So this the R word, it doesn't have any relation with race. It's totally based on how good you are. If you are noble, you are Arya. If you are not noble, you are not Arya. In
Hmm.
Rigved, when we go through it, we saw that I read that people are praising to kill some Arya rulers also and some
Oh,
Dasyu rulers also.
okay.
They are praising that this Dasyu should win.
Hmm.
So if Rigved was written by Arya, why they are saying that, hey Indra, please defeat this Arya ruler?
Yeah.
So this is all. It doesn't have any relation with race.
Hmm.
It is a different thing.
Right. We spoke about the Pashupati seal in the Hindi podcast. I just want you to briefly talk about that here as well.
This is, once again I see it. They quoted it as Pashupati, and what they told that it is the earliest form of Shiv. And one side they told that Shiv has no mention in Rigved. So the Harappans or the Indus Saraswati civilization people, they were not Vedic. On this basis, they want to say this or they want to propagate this theory. When I went through Rigved, I saw that there is only one god who is termed as Pashupati, and he is not Shiv. Neither he is Proto Shiv. He is Indra. And when you see that seal, he is having two horns. He has weird. He is wearing a headgear which is having two horns, and it is told that this type of headgear was worn by Indra and Agni only. And when you see the seal, there are some ferocious animals sitting nearby to that yogi. Okay, and in the Rigved, it is clearly mentioned that Indra is the Pashupati. So once again, saying it is a proto Shiv, it is a what we call Kuchakra to separate Rigved and Aryans. That Pashupati, I think it is Indra Bhagwan, and he was the prime god of Vedic people. And these Harappans or the Indus Saraswati people, they were the followers of Vedic culture.
Right. There was this one one site in Pakistan called Swat Valley. And there were these Gandhar grave culture that was found out in the excavation. A lot of people of AMT again, they started saying that because the grave culture was found and the burial practices, artifacts, and skeletal remains they were found over there, they show similarities to the Indo-European culture. Is that true by any means?
See, what is the date of Gandhar grave culture?
1500 to 500 BC?
We are talking about 2000 BC. So there is no sense. Considering Gandhar grave culture with the Aryans, we already have the evidences of Vedic culture in Indus Saraswati civilization. Then what is the need to compare it with the Gandhar grave culture?
What about the Bactria Margiana archaeological complex? And for that, the date is somewhere around 2300 to 1700 BC in modern Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, and northern Afghanistan. And it was a highly developed civilization interacted with Mesopotamia and the Indus Valley. So, again, artifacts and cultural practices indicate a bridge between steppe pastoralists and the Indus Valley civilization.
See, the thing is that trade was going on during that time, and people were going here and there.
Hmm.
So some relations are there.
As we talked about that.
We talked about it earlier also. But we need foolproof evidence, and there are no foolproof evidence for all these rubbish theories.
Right. So, in let's say this theory or any kind of theory, if you want to refute that, it can happen only on the basis of the artifacts or whatever you find in the excavations. Is that the only way?
This is the only way.
Okay.
If you are If this is a glass,
Yeah.
I will say it a glass only, na.
Correct.
I can't say this is a bottle.
Hmm.
If we are getting chariots, which date back to 2100 BC, they are chariots.
Right.
And Rigved mentions about the use of chariots and what type of chariot it mentions. Those chariots are quite similar to it.
Right.
And we also, I think we talked about those anthropomorphic figures on the coffin. Okay, these anthropomorphic figures are Indra or Agni because they also have worn the headgear with the
Bulls and horns.
bull horns.
Bull horns.
So they were the followers of Indra and Agni, and
Right.
Indra and Agni were the prime deities of Rigvedic culture or Vedic culture. So
Okay.
we have ample amount of archaeological evidences, and if someone wants to cut this theory, now they need other archaeological
evidence.
facts,
Right.
because we have archaeological facts.
Correct.
The theory uh, which they gave during ancient time, that Aryans invaded India during 1500 BCE, they doesn't have any archaeological facts. But we
Right.
have archaeological facts, and that's why we are defaming it.
Okay. And I mean, why are we not investing more in finding out other sites and excavating those sites just to prove this theory even more?
See, work is going on. See, we got independence in 1947, and we discovered Sinauli's important artifacts in 2018. So it needs time. It's not like in just seconds something will happen. It needs time. Archaeological excavations are slow process. First you need to explore for years, then only you can excavate. And then years are required to excavate. See, Rakhi Gadi was first excavated during 20th century. Still, it is going on in 21st century, and new evidences are coming out. Like we got the evidence of reservoir, we got the evidence of stadium. Okay, so it is a slow process. Things will come out, and I don't think so that what they have told, those things will never come out because they never happened.
Talk about the painted Grey Ware culture, because again, some of the people I've heard them saying that PGW is seen as evidence of cultural shift which is consistent with the Aryan Migration Theory. So what is the
See, that date of PGW is 1000 BCE. They told that Aryans came during 1500 BCE. Okay, so there is no connection. Once again, Rigved talked about urbanized culture. PGW is not a urbanized culture. PGW is basically located in Ganga Yamuna Doab. Okay, Rigved doesn't talk much about Ganga Yamuna. It talks, but not much. It mainly talks about Saraswati Valley. And on Saraswati Valley, there was only one civilization, that is Indus Saraswati civilization. So neither the dates, neither the archaeological finds related to PGW support that PGW people were the Aryans. And once again, I am saying Aryans or it is not a race.
It is not a race.
It is just a word for a noble person.
What about the Indo-Iranian cultural overlap? Because the Avesta, which is a Zoroastrian text, that and Rigved, they share a lot of striking similarities.
This is because, see what MK Dhabligar told, that some people migrated towards Iran from India. So I think that this Avesta was written by those people who migrated from India, and Avesta is written quite later.
Yeah, because I was hearing this one prayer that is there in Avesta on YouTube, and it sounds very similar with Sanskrit.
Some words are similar. It is because of what we call Arya Bahirgaman. Because our people went there. They didn't come here. Because Avesta dates back to around 1500 BC or 1000 BC,
right.
Around that time.
Okay.
And Rigved dates back to 2500 BC, 3000 BC, when Saraswati was flowing in his full-fledged. So I don't think
But
so.
Why have we not invested as a country, as an ancient civilization? Why have we not invested in propagating this theory that Aryans migrated outside of India?
See, the thing is that we were fighting that Aryans never came to India since last 70 to 80 years. Before independence also, our scholars were fighting with the Britishers, then with the leftist scholars, that Aryans never invaded India, they never migrated towards India. Now we have came to a point that we are with archaeological facts, we are saying that no such race came to India. Okay, so first let this thing get established. The other thing, that Aryans, so-called some Aryan people, which is not a race, they migrated outside India. We will talk about it also in future.
So work is going on in
Work
that
is going
direction.
on. Work is going on. See, it is a slow process.
Hmm.
Okay, it requires time.
Yeah.
See, defaming that false theory, it took around 200 years,
Hmm.
and still it is not totally defamed. It is not in the curriculum.
Hmm.
It is not in the syllabus of each and every university. So it requires time.
Right.
We have facts, but to include those facts in textbook, we require an ample amount of time.
Got it. Got it. Okay. Is there anything that will happen according to you in future with this theory? What are the directions that we are working in? Because there are a lot of people who will comment on this video as well. What about the DNA? What about the language? So how are we?
See, on for DNA, I am saying years ago, Kennedy and Lukács told that no DNA disrupt is there
Hmm.
during 1500 BCE. Okay, new researches will also be similar to this only.
Hmm.
That no DNA disrupt happens till 1000 BC. Nobody came from outside till 1000 BC. Neither archaeology, neither DNA analysis. They will never accept that Aryans came from outside. And in future also the thing will go like this only.
Okay. Got it. Professor Shubham, thank you so much for this conversation. It was a
Thank
shorter
you.
conversation, but I feel it was necessary to have this conversation. A lot of people, as you said, it is still not accepted that this theory can be refuted. It has been refuted. So I think this will be a starting point for those people who never agreed with our Indic view. But then archaeology, if archaeology says something, it has to be true because it is working on the evidences which are found.
See, the thing is that there is a need to tell common people
Hmm.
that what is written in the archaeological reports, they should be aware about all those things
Right.
so that they can accept that, yeah, no one came from outside here.
Correct. Correct. So thank you so much,
Thank you
Shubham
so
ji.
much.
This was such a lovely conversation. I hope so people get to take away a lot from this. But thank you, and I request our audience that if you have any more topics about this particular theory that you want us to discuss, please let us know in the comments. We'll discuss those with Shubham ji in future. Shubham ji, thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much.
Perfect.
Dhanyavad.